You're now listening to the Zod and Drea podcast.
What you want?
All right.
Episode 152.
What you want?
All right, welcome back to the Zod and Drea podcast. We are coming back to you after a nice, eventful week. Unfortunately, worldwide it's been a little crazy, but we'll talk about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's been a pretty good, eventful week, I think.
Yeah, you did some great speaking events this week.
Yes, wound up doing something for the League of Women Voters.
Mm-hmm.
I was a moderator there with Vanessa Ruiz of Cronkite News.
Great job. Both of you did a great job.
Yeah, had a nice little panel discussion about voter suppression and just trying to activate people to get there to, fight against it.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that it was a lot of fun. And shout out to Penny and the League of Women Voters for even putting that on. And we can't wait to see what they do in the future with that same event. We also, we did that thing with Harlan and Plutus.
Plutus Foundation, shout out to them. They did a great job and a great event to inform people about all the bloggers that are in the financial industry that are looking into see how to use their resources to help communities build up their economic wealth.
And we were really lucky to have that there. And we want to make sure we shout out also our girl Athena.
Thanks, Athena.
Yeah, for even inviting us to that. Man, it's just been...
Saturday, we were in Tucson.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Tucson. It was Saturday. Yeah, Tucson. We had that event. You got to meet Gabby Giffords. If you don't know who
Such
she
a
is,
sweetie.
sweet
Such
woman,
a sweet woman.
Congresswoman, who had been shot in the head, survived because she's a survivor like that. Her husband, Mark Kelly, who's an astronaut, is running for Senate.
But, I mean, they're
over
both
in Arizona,
badasses.
so
they can handle anything.
So they're
in life.
doing it. It's been a good week. But let's get into what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay. So we're going to talk about then in entertainment, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Game of Thrones, the season 8 opener. There will be spoilers, so if you have not seen it, then number one, you're late. But then number two, you're going to get it, just fast forward for 5 minutes after it starts. Relationships, even though it's not a relationship, but it sort of is because we were just there a few months ago. We're going to talk about Notre Dame and how it burned down to the ground. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was nuts. And our main topic is then apathy when the president incites
What you
violence.
want?
Yeah, so let's get to it. 5 minutes now, people. Check back in 5 minutes because we're going to talk about Game of Thrones Season 8's opener. So, in case you haven't noticed, a lot of people are really excited about this HBO series coming back after it's been gone. God, I think it was 656 days or something. Somebody said they counted it. I'm like, man, that is
Almost 2 years?
it was a long time before before Season 8. Yeah. How do you not know this? Yes, it was forever. That's
Look,
why
I
people were
don't know
pissy.
nothing lately,
I'm
so-
like, geez, man, how long are you gonna wait? So they finally aired the season 8 opener, and the big fanfare after dragons and Night King and all this other stuff was going on, and they finally found out. Spoiler alert! They finally found out Jon Snow's lineage, and the fact that he is.
Well, he found out.
No, I'm talking about season 8.
Okay.
I mean, season 7. They finally found out his lineage, because Crazy Bran was talking to Sam, who had he had been scribing pretty much like the Maester's books, and I mean he read all kinds of stuff. So they found out that Jon Snow is really a Targaryen, I believe. He's a Targaryen. So
And
Daenerys.
his mom was Stark.
Yeah, his mom was the Stark. So his Daenerys is actually his aunt, who he then slept with. So then we fast forward, to season 8 opener, and everybody was having parties. We were having who's gonna die, events, and from what I heard, people felt it underwhelming for the season opening.
Well, and they always are. It's like, look, you're just breaking into what the remaining of the story is. And what did we find out? That from Variety was reporting that it was 17.4 million viewers, and that's on all platforms. So for HBO, that's pretty damn cool, right?
Yeah.
streaming service from what they could see. So that's a lot of viewers on one night. But yeah, I mean, what do you expect for like it's like they're gonna have to usher you in. But there were some like, you know, moments where you're like, whoa, that happened, that's crazy, and you know, kind of like to tease you on then for the next episode. I know I can't wait for the next one, but I thought it was good. I wasn't expecting huge amount of action and drama. There still was.
The thing is, with Game of Thrones and any really popular TV series, see, people, for whatever reason, they felt that they were going to find out explosions and, you know, the Night King was obviously, you know, they think that for the next, you know, for all, 7 episodes, 6 episodes, whatever it is, that it's all going to be fights and killings, and it's like you have to build up your story. This is the end of it. Like, this is it. This is, like, it's wrapping up. So you have to bring it in, pulling it in slowly, which I think they did really well. They did it really well. You know, they allowed you to get comfortable with the characters again,
yes.
Which is what you have to do. They were introduced, you know, my man Bronn, you know, getting his threesome on, foursome on. My man Bronn.
Oh,
Yeah, my man Bronn getting his, and almost catching something in the middle of it too. You know, my man Bronn's back. You know, Jamie.
My needle girl.
You know, Arya's back. But
she got reunited with her brother.
With her brother.
Really cute.
Yeah, you know, so that you have to build it up slowly. So Jon Snow and also Arya, let's see. So Arya's story arc was even interesting in the season opener because, let's see, she ran into that dude. I forgot who that kid's name was when he was asking the blacksmith kid.
Yeah.
So she was getting her flirt on, you know?
Like
hard. You know, she had reunited with Sansa already, but then she got to reunite with Jon, who she hadn't seen in who knows how long. But she also saw the Hound.
Which, he's still on her list.
And yeah, still on her list, but he respected her. Like, he was like, yo, you left me to die, but, you know, he was like, okay, you know, you're a tough chick. And she it looked almost like she had a little smile, like she knew.
This was the episode of the side eye, though. He got him at Sansa's side eye.
So, talk about it. Hurry up. We only got like 45 seconds. Talk about it.
Her side eye, the moment then that Jon Snow brought over his queen, right? His dragon queen, right? Daenerys. And Sansa wasn't having it. She was you've got to pull up all the side eye action.
You got to see, but it's both of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was both. They're like, you're not gonna respect me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, look, I know that's your sister, bro, but you know, you
attitude.
get her in line right quick. But of course, people were pissed because he was the king of the North, and he gave up his title because my girl Lyanna Mormont was not playing.
No.
She was
8 seconds left. What about the ending? The ending.
Talk about it real quick.
Who got to see? Who thought he was dead?
Oh yeah. So you got to see it. All right. You got to see it if you haven't. Yeah, it's getting good, and I think the ending is just avoid Twitter for a while if you haven't seen it. All right. So that's Game of Thrones. This is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So then let's talk about, even though we put in relationships for a reason. In case you haven't seen, you know, in case you haven't seen, Notre Dame, the famed cathedral in Paris, France, visited by more than 13 million people each year, had burned down. Now, the reason we put this in relationships is I have been visiting Notre Dame since, I almost want to say 1998-ish. Maybe even before then. I almost want to say 1997. Actually, 1997. I've been visiting there, so I've probably been there about 4 or 5 times. And it's one of those things where you always kind of, you know, you're in Paris, so you got to go see Notre Dame. There's always a line of people and everything else. And I've gone with different people, and it's been, you know, a real nice, exciting time because it's just a beautifully old church built.
Huge.
It's massive.
Just on the outside.
Yeah, it's very large, and it's one of those things that it was almost like the center of Paris at one time, to where they built everything around it because that's how religion worked. And so when it's been sitting there for 850 years, you know, chilling, and I like how the reporters were talking about how it had been standing for, you know, through 2 world wars, the Napoleonic Wars.
And it's gone for since. They had other fires there.
The French Revolution, the Crusades. Okay, just think of how old this church is, where it has been. Yeah, but they keep rebuilding it. And so, in November, in case you didn't know, I was able to take Drea over there. We went together, and she got to see with her own eyes Notre Dame, the cathedral. So, you can tell me about that.
Well, we went actually on the in the inside, took a tour because there was miraculously there were no lines to get in, and that blew your mind because you always saw lines there. You never got to.
There were always lines every time I saw it. So this last time in November was the first time I had personally been inside and under it.
Mm-hmm. We got to see the it's not catacombs, but it's like the basement of where everything was found of the original civilization. It's like a Celtic and Roman
civilization.
Yeah, it was like a whole what it was originally what Paris was. And it began with the letter C. I'm sorry, letter L for the actual name of the city. But anyway, it was gorgeous to see, and I remember the smell. I remember the smell of the cathedral because it smelled damp, which of course it would be, right? But yet it permeated some type of wood and incense to it. It was dark because you think about it, it's Gothic, right? But gorgeous, and the paintings that were there and the art pieces, I was just overwhelmed to really kind of capture all in an hour to really take in where you were. Now, I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore, but when you walk into that church, that's kind of put aside because what humbled me was knowing that I'm standing at a place where millions of people have visited and it's been around for centuries.
Yeah, so this thing has been around for centuries. So to see it burn, it just hurt. It's one of those things where things happen, things you see, you get used to certain things, and when you see it going up in flames, you get saddened about it. To me, it wasn't a time or period to be like, oh, what, religion sucks, and burn baby burn. It wasn't about that at that time. It was like, people from all over the world come to see this thing. It's one of the highlights of their trips. It's one of the highlights of some of the people who do worship. They do believe God resides in there. And, for it to burn down and be happy, to me, that's wrong. It's a relationship that people have with not just God in there, but it is a church that has served for 850 years, which is longer than a lot of others. So to see it burn, the fact is, a lot of the structures, stained glass windows,
the bell.
Yeah, the two bells and the third bell and the organ were all survived this fire. That's actually really remarkable, and they will rebuild.
Look, we know the building was old, but it was an architectural, brilliant. So, again, kudos to the people in Paris.
Please listen carefully.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Zod.
And I'm Drea.
And we want you to check out the Zod and Drea podcast every Tuesday.
Where can everybody find us at?
You can always check us out on www.zodanddrea.com.
Where else?
You can always check us out also on Facebook at Zod and Drea.
Instagram?
Zod and Drea.
Snapchat?
Zod and Drea.
YouTube?
Zod and Drea.
I see a pattern.
So if you haven't caught that, catch us at Zod and Drea on all the social networks. But also, make sure you subscribe to the Zod and Drea podcast. Where?
At zodanddrea.com.
And also on YouTube and iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. We're coming for you.
Let us know what you think. And if you want to be a guest, reach out to us.
And put all of your input into whatever our topics are for the week. So we hope to check you out and see you there.
Bye.
All right, we're back at it now. Let's talk about this main topic, which is the apathy when the president incites violence. All right, this is something that spans all the way to Trump's base. This is what Trump does. Okay.
Would you even say that it was even started during just his campaign?
No, that's what I'm talking about. It's his base. It's him building. The fact that somebody can build a base surrounded by hatred in this country. People always say, "Oh, this is the country, the land of the free, home of the brave," but really, it's the land of, the cowards, and home of a bunch of snot rags, because his base was too easily riled up. It was a backlash, number one, of President Barack Obama's election, number one. And number two, It was them trying to get revenge for 9/11 and whoever else, because they felt like they had to hate somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Trump is one of those people that is a great catalyst and a lightning rod for that. So they saw him as a leader. There's no other reason why the Ku Klux Klan had endorsed him. They were one of the few papers to endorse him, the Ku Klux Klan. So as many people say, oh, the Democrats, they invented the Ku. No, they didn't, okay? The Ku Klux Klan had members who were Democrat. That's a whole bunch of different things.
Right, it wasn't started by a party.
It wasn't started by a party. So anybody saying that's stupid, idiotic, moronic, and even still, no matter what you say, there's nothing you can get around it. The Ku Klux Klan was founded by conservatives. Regardless of what you say, they didn't want things changed. They were not liberals. They were conservatives. So anybody who holds a conservative ideology will then relate to them, which is why they put Donald Trump as their endorsement. Moving that forward, you can see where the hatred builds up. How much violence. We've posted a whole bunch of podcasts regarding what Trump's crowd and base does. God, when he was running, I'll pay for that guy's lawyer bills, if he gets sued.
If he gets sued, right.
Inciting violence. Like, no matter what. Like do that.
Kick his ass.
Kick his ass. And, cops, when you put them in the, in the car, then make sure you bump their head. And, those sons of bitches better stand for this. He incites violence, and we see it repeatedly. We see it repeatedly, especially towards immigrants. On how these white privileged friggin' freaks of the United States wind up wanting to hurt people for simply speaking a different language, as if they have a lock on. First of all, you had no teeth. Second, you have no English skills anyway.
No teeth.
And you're going to try to tell somebody what to do in their own language in the United States, a country that was built on immigrants and slaves. And no, I'm not going to forget the slaves. It was built on slaves, on immigrants and slaves. And immigrants, many of whom which came over here without any damn papers and slaughtered a whole bunch of native people who were already living here. So in reality, the only people who are allowed to claim the title of American here are those who were forced here, Africans, and those who were already here, the natives. Like, seriously. Like, who else?
Right.
Everyone else had a choice. Everyone else had a choice to come here and did it either violently or whatever. Like, so for Trump to be able to do what he does and incite violence and then have someone like Sarah Sanders all the time protecting him. No, well, he didn't mean to. No, the president, he's been clear.
You're taking the words out of,
you're out of context.
context.
For her to say that means that she is also a protection of white supremacy. Let's just be real about what this is. Like, let's be real what this is. We see it, we know what it is, and people try to cover up as if this does not exist. So, of course, I'm going to get on to, is there anything else you wanted to add before we jumped on?
No, pretty much you're staying on point of what we've been saying. Like, this is something not new to our audience. We've been saying this for a while.
It's historical. They wind up flashing back to where it's like, oh, Barack Obama, he ruined this country. I love the fact that people say the first black president
Ruined everything.
The first black president, like 43 other white guys were awesome. But the first black president, he turned race relationships. Oh yeah, he turned race relationships back 30 years. So Barack Obama forced white people to hate black people even more.
Right, because that never existed. They didn't hate anybody of color.
Barack Obama forced white people to hate Muslims. Like, somehow it was Barack Obama who said, you need. So he forced you. You had no choice. You were living in love, and then you were like, you know what? He put a rift behind it because now I hate Muslims. I can't stand that he did that. The responsibility that people have and the fact that they're not taking it upon themselves is absolutely 100% ridiculous. And his little 35% voting base, which was a really low voter turnout that year, which means that he's not growing his base, is going to be amazing. Anyway, let me get to what the topic is also based on, which is Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. She had been in the news, people calling her anti-Semitic because she challenged Israel. Israel's government, not Israel's people, but Israel's government. So, of course, if you say anything negative about Israel,
Or
Netanyahu, or anything about Israel, their government, if you say anything, you are going to be like, it's almost a 100% fact that you are going to be considered anti-Semitic. Like, point blank, you hate Jews all across the board. So it's almost impossible for anybody to criticize Israel without having that thrown in your face. I mean, yet it's funny how easily you can be Islamophobic.
Mm-hmm.
And, the same white people who are saying, oh, you know what, you said something bad about Israel, you're anti-Semitic. They'll say, you know what, death to Muslims, and be like, I'm not anti-Semitic. Well, I'm not Islamophobic.
The largest religious population in the globe.
Yeah, so you're going to try and say that about, billions of people. And she had, I think it was Advanced Justice or something like the Empowerment, something Muslim, whatever. Omar was speaking at a CARE event. Now, of course, you talk to Trump people, and CARE is, Sharia law.
Mm-hmm. Which is so not.
Which is so stupid. You're trying to do all this, and you're trying to cut off hands and rape women, and, whatever. That's, to any random Trump voter, that's what CARE is. All Muslims are trying to chop off your heads. That's what they do. That's literally what every Trump voter thinks. So, or Sharia law is coming to the United States if you put too many Muslims in it. Yeah, guess what? There have always been a lot of Muslims in the United States. So chill.
The United States doesn't oppress women.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Like, let's just be real.
Let's be real. Like, you know what?
Another topic.
Yeah.
I got up on subject. Like, but the United States passes a lot of laws too.
This clown Trump winds up tweeting. First of all, he has said a bunch of anti-Semitic things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, out loud, and like, he has said a bunch of like, literally, like, not just tropes, but I mean extreme stereotypes. I only let Jews, like, my Jewish lawyers count my money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you're freaking bugging.
Even before he became president.
He has, but of course his base, they ignore all that because they're stupid, and they're like, oh, you know what? They'll find anything, but as soon as she writes, it's all about the Benjamins, baby. Oh my God. That's when the Democrats jump down her throat and be like, oh, you know what? You're saying all these, anti-Semitic tropes. And she's like, it's about, or the dual loyalty thing. She wasn't talking, like, she was talking about regular Americans who sit there and they blindly follow Israel's, like, she literally was never saying anything anti-Semitic. But people who are so sensitive on that dime and who don't understand, number one, they don't understand black speak. And number two, they have no idea what the hell she's talking about, and they're so sensitive to whatever Israel says. If Israel tells you something, then you better jump. So here's Donald Trump tweeting a video talking about we will never forget on April 12th. And this video is juxtaposing Ilhan's speech, because she said, something was done on, by some people. And this Trump guy goes and has it juxtaposed of 9/11 blasting through the towers, burning down, and all this rumbling. And he actually has this Muslim woman, the image in her speech on 9/11, almost as if any hate-filled white supremacist alt-right Trump supporter, which there are many of,
which we know there's been an increase since he started his administration, and those are pure facts.
That's just facts, okay? Hate crimes have gone up. That he puts this out, now has 259,000 likes.
God knows how many times it's been shared.
Yeah. Oh, no, not God. 95,000 times. So it's been shared that many times to this many people. There are 87,000 comments, and there are people who are sitting there saying that they got to get rid of her and this and that. She has received an increase in death threats. He is almost making it look like 9/11 is, number one, he is already dividing Muslims and people who aren't Muslims further. Now you're bringing up 9/11 and using that
Which
that footage.
Is a trigger.
It's a trigger. And talking about we will never forget. And he put her on there. So now she has a map. If this woman is killed, this is a direct result of Donald Trump. If this woman is hurt, attacked in any way, this is a result of Donald Trump, and her life is now in danger because of the President of the United States, and his base is just sitting on their hands. They're
And
doing nothing.
what
And
does
even
that
worse,
sound like?
and even worse, forget about what that sounds like. Guess what's even worse is the fact that Democrats have not come to her aid. She is a Democratic United States Congresswoman, a woman, a Muslim, and young and black, and they are not protecting them. The Democrats have sat down, have said nothing.
That on their hands.
Pelosi isn't speaking up against it. These are death threats against them. Because because you know what they're gonna do. The Democrats are gonna try to get her out. They're gonna think that she's
she's gonna hurt us down the road.
She's gonna hurt us down the road. We already know what you're doing, and you're gonna have this woman killed in some. I mean, I'm so pissed off about it because this whole nation is turning into white supremacist central, and it's not the fact that they didn't exist. Black people have been saying through police and man, you'll hear hip hop songs from who knows when. It's like, oh, they're cops now. They're politicians. They're your next door neighbors. All these people, like everybody in the Trump, anybody with a red hat, anybody protecting Trump or standing up, you're a white supremacist to me. You're a white supremacist because you are upholding white supremacy. Oh, well, what about Candace Owens? White supremacist. I don't care who you are. You are a supremacist. You are backing white supremacy. And if you do not protect Ilhan Omar, then you are culpable to whatever may possibly happen to her.
I could be wrong about this, but what I've seen so far is just Acosta, my AOC. She's the only one that's come up to her that has actually defended her.
Yeah, and I'm sure Talib, Rashida, and Rashida, like I'm sure.
She has actually. Yes,
yeah,
too.
no, the young ones coming up, they're the ones who are going to protect her and stand up for her.
Mm-hmm.
Those are her peers. I swear on everything, I hope they change Congress. I hope it becomes way more of them.
What's happening now? Now you've got now on Fox News and all of these other really strong right-wing media turning those women now into the new targets as well.
And they've been the whole target.
Like, again, women of color. Really, you weak-ass punks? This is who you're targeting?
Yep.
You're weak.
Like, they're extremely weak. And you're going to sit there and do that because you think, and it's because your numbers are shrinking.
You're not targeting the president that has taken away and decreased then your tax refund. Have you thought about that?
Your taxes aren't coming back.
No, they're not. What happened to that trickle-down effect? Yeah, you got that awesome bonus, but guess what? That bonus is now have to be now paid towards your taxes because your taxes were cut.
And it was a one-time bonus. Like, I mean, it was a one-time thing. So while these other billionaires are sitting there making all this money, your stupid president is also benefiting from this. But he's also threatened. He's put the target. There is no time in history, recent history, where anybody would do that to another congressperson.
And it's against the law if you actually threaten her. It is a federal crime.
But he does. But it's like Michael Cohen. He doesn't exactly do. He doesn't say. He does things that walks around.
He tippy-toes.
Yeah, he tippy-toes around things, so he can't be extremely culpable of whatever he does. But he's the leader. He's the one who does it. Cohen's like, oh, you know it. So he'll ask it almost in a question. That is a good idea, right? Where he doesn't wind up being responsible for it, but you're putting this woman's in your almost in your crosshairs,
Right.
But when he had a Star of David, that he tweeted from an anti-Semite during the killer campaign, all of a sudden, that was just fine. The fact that people are protecting this guy, is atrocious. And if somebody did that to him and juxtaposed him, especially since he said, oh, well, look at this. Now my buildings are going to be the tallest buildings after the Twin Towers came down. Oh, I saw Muslims dancing and did it, even though he did not. He wound
I'm going
up
to pay for all these people to help clean, which he didn't.
So, they're still, I'm not going to serve Vietnam because I have bone spurs. They're still sitting over there calling him a patriot. A patriot. I am convinced that red hats don't know what patriotism is. They literally don't. And they are confusing white supremacy with patriotism. Like, straight up. So if they don't protect Ilhan Omar, you are responsible for everything. If you want to start that race war, people are actually ready to do it. I don't know what his issue is, but he's going to learn at one point. All right. Sorry, that was me talking a lot and venting. That was me venting a lot. But for real, there's a lot of apathy out there, and people you're going to have to protect people. You're going to have to find out what side of history you're on. If something happens to Ilhan Omar, a U.S. representative, or her family, anybody, then you are responsible. And it's going to be up to us to drag these red hats. Like, seriously, they're going to have to get dragged. So anyway, let us know what you think. This is Zod talking, Zod and Drea podcast. You can check us out at zodandrea.com everywhere. Instagram, Snapchat, You know, we gotta update our Snapchat a little bit, but it's all good.
And if you are a Trump supporter and you completely disagree with everything that we've said, we welcome your conversation.
Yeah, welcome your conversation. You know, make your point. Write it up on Facebook, Instagram, do whatever you got to do. Reach out to us, all right? But for now, let's see what happens this week. We'll report back next time, all right? Peace.